I am excited to tell you today that the Arizona Coyotes are officially moving, just not outside of Arizona.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome everyone to Locked On Coyotes, number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same thing with your car. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. This is Locked On Coyotes, though. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. I'm Robin Leone. That's Matthew Jacobson. We got a great show. Good little bonus for you guys. 2 episodes in one day. What are we doing?
Just giving the people what they want. So the Arizona Coyotes, they're relocating. I feel everyone's happy about this. And you know what? I am too. Because they're just going to relocate to the East Valley somewhere. Like, come on, look, I'm not going to stop fishing until y'all realize you're not going to get what you want. Xavier Gutierrez finally spoke, and I'll pretty much parrot what I said on Twitter. They're saying all the right things. They are reasonably close to regaining my trust. That being said, they need to continue on this path. And they do double down and confirm essentially January 1st is the soft date. That's when they want to have something finalized. They're kind of talking about how it'll be realistic, that they're confident something will be finalized, but I feel like I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We got to talk financials first, Robin. You want to talk a little financials? Talk about how the Coyotes lose the league so much money. Oh my God, they're so awful. Even though, despite them playing in a 4,600 seat arena, they made 10% more ticket revenue than they were in Glendale.
But they upcharged. But guess what? They still made more money.
Wait, you're telling me? I think hockey is 17.5 with standing room at DDA, so I think like 16,000 would be the average without standing room. You're telling me you make more money in front of 4,600 fans than 16,000? Well, correction, we were getting about a little under 12K reported in the final year, and most of those tickets are Upper Bowl tickets for like $20-$30. I would know because my wife and I loved those cheap tickets, so that's what made it easier for us to go. It just doesn't pay the bills. This, like we were saying, like my old co-host of my other podcast was saying, like the logical people here were saying, you put them in the East Valley, more corporate dollars, closer to their fans, more of them will show up. Obviously, the ticket prices had to go up to, I think they said it was the 3rd highest in the league they're reporting. I think Steve Peters reported that. 3rd highest in the league, which is ridiculous, yet it worked. They made 10% more despite being, what is that, a third the size building? Is my math correct, Robin? A building a third the size, roughly? And they made more?
Yeah. And they did. And you're right. You're roughly right in that size, give or take a little bit of a fraction. But, like, yeah, they made more money. Because, yeah, it's amazing how people say hockey doesn't work in Arizona, but they only look at that failure that we saw that happened at the end of Glendale. Like it people were just gonna judge it on that, and that the fact they're playing in a 4,600 seat arena, but they still made more money.
I was going to say, let's be fair, the entire Glendale thing was a failure. All right. If you like me as a personality, then they got something out of that. But, like, I'm not worth this team almost leaving. I'm going to be blunt on that. I'd rather be homeless with no
Glendale
personality.
As a whole was one of the worst decisions they ever made as a team, as an organization. At the time, you couldn't I feel like that decision was a hard one because you don't know what Glendale was going to be now then.
They thought it was going to be a big boom, and technically they weren't wrong. The problem is with the
In the
West
wrong
Valley
direction.
bedroom community. A lot of the money gets spent in the East. Now, don't get me wrong, it's kind of improving a little bit, all right, because more people, for example, are not going to drive to Scottsdale now to go to Topgolf because there's a one in Glendale. But that does not mean that Glendale as a whole, the West Valley as a whole, is what the East Valley is. It's never going to be that way. This is the best possible thing for them to go to the East Valley, and that's what they confirmed they're looking at. All right, and one thing that I don't know if I should save a rant or just let myself go on this one, but I'm just my blood is boiling a little bit. Javier, I'm going back to criticizing you because this triggers me. All right, yes, I am triggered right now. We all knew there were backups. We all knew they had spoken elsewhere. We knew there was other things in the pipeline, other possibilities. This individual says within 24 hours of the no vote, there is no plan B. Then multiple times is confirmed that word talks because we are re-engaging in talks with such and such and such and such. These different entities. Oh, you mean he said we're picking back up conversations. You mean the conversations you were having before the Tempe thing? Meaning there was something? There were backups?
But then
and
people
you
were commenting
came out here and said there wasn't?
Yeah, but then we still had people commenting. There's oh no, they weren't talking to people. They said that they're just focusing on Tempe. Yes, at the time they were just solely focusing on Tempe. But the good thing is, if you pay attention to what Gutierrez said now, they kind of realized that they're not going to put all their eggs in one basket this time.
Literally confirming, which is logical, by the way, because Tempe was that TED project was the perfect location. That was the right project. His comments of is the right project, the right time, right. That was 110% correct. I completely understand the logic behind, hey, this is the best option. We are putting all our eggs in this basket. We are going to stop the current conversations to do this because this is the best option. I completely agree with the mindset. Mm-hmm. All right. There should have been a little further contingencies, but I get it. I get the mindset. All right. But none of these other sites that we are aware of are the same gem that Tempe was. They all have pros and cons that you have to have every possible avenue open right now because that will give you the best possible deal and increase your odds of getting this done.
100%. Let's get to more in a little about this in just a second. I do want to hear we do got to hear from our sponsors, but I just gotta get you guys a heads up what we're gonna get to because Gutierrez went to a decent amount. No, nothing fully official, but he wanted to confirm a decent amount for us, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health that I drink literally every day. I drink it every day because I was tired of getting so many supplements and wanted to get a single solution that supports my entire body and covers my nutritional bases every day. I wanted better gut health. I wanted a boost in energy. I needed to focus in my immune system. I wanted something that actually tastes pretty good too while I go through all that, rather than taking my bunch of pills or maybe another green drink that doesn't taste good. AG1 actually does taste good. Take it every morning. All I need is a scoop of water, a scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's all I need. And I just get to go through the rest of my day. I get to go to work, get to have that with me, and I have all my nutritions. It's it's a lot more affordable than your cold brew habit. It costs less than $3 a day. It is a comprehensive solution that you need from your supplement routine. Then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. So go to drinkag1.com/NHL Network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL Network. So check it out. All right, Matt. So Gutierrez while he was at the draft in Nashville, kind of talked to some media, got it going a little bit more into the arena talk because here's the thing: we talked about not putting all eggs in one basket. He confirmed we're talking to as many as how many as it says right here on our screen, 12 sites to start off with.
A dozen, maybe even a baker's dozen, but a dozen.
Like,
wow,
what? And since then, we've had a month pass, like a little over, like a month and a couple weeks since the election, and they've went from a dozen to 6, right?
Yep, they whittled it down. They said they whittled it to about half a dozen, and they would like to get it down even more. And we already know one of them. We know it was that was a 65-acre parcel of land on the 101. He even literally said along the 101 corridor. He even literally said that in this clip. I'm not sure we're allowed to play it, but you can find it on Craig Morgan's Twitter. He literally said in that clip, I don't know why. I think he mentioned Gilbert. No idea why he said that, but Greater Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, the 101 corridor went from a dozen to about half of that, and they want to keep narrowing it down. They confirmed the timeline of around January 1st. He said, we're confident that essentially something should be ready to be announced around that point. And right here, they want to double down on a privately funded arena like they wanted to in Tempe. People keep trying to still spread the information. It wasn't. There was tax, but no, there wasn't. There were tax breaks. Yes. Was a taxpayer money in the line? No. That is not how tax breaks work. But then again, these people didn't even know what they were voting for. These comments, they want to avoid a public vote. They want privately owned land, privately funded arena. They want it in the East Valley, where this team belongs, along the 101 corridor, Scottsdale, Mesa. Mesa's still in play. Mesa would be a great option depending on the location. This is looking more and more optimistic by the day.
Perfect.
Yes, this is looking more optimistic by the day. That's why I'm saying they are reasonably close to regaining my trust. They still got to bring it home. You don't get no free passes here. You still got to bring it home and get it done. But all of this is essentially everything we've already known, plus a little more context, plus a couple more details. And it just, am I allowed to say pisses me off? It pisses me off that we are in a scenario that people like me, local media, tell the national types what's going on here, give them the information, and they just put their head in the sand, and everyone keeps doubling down on. They have no option. A YouTuber I respect is like, it's looking grim. Mesa could be an option, but I don't know. I don't know where else to go. And I'm like, hey, there are a lot of other sites. They're looking a lot of other places. Oh, I don't know. It looks grim. To heck with you. I was a little borderline on the urinating slang, but to heck with you, because we've known this, and people like you, the national media types, have just made our job that much harder and more of a pain, and our blood pressure is that much higher. All right, and maybe, just maybe, I've kicked a few holes in some walls right here. Not actually, but I'm just gonna say I did. Maybe I kicked a couple holes in a couple walls, because it's such a pain in the tuchus to deal with this when we already knew this. We've been saying this for a long time. We've been saying it for months even. And now, finally, these idiots will be like, oh, man, okay, I guess there might be a couple options. Like, I hope you step on a Lego, and then when you're moving away from the Lego, you stub your toe. And then when you stub your toe, maybe you trip up a little bit and scrape your knee or something.
Right before it heals up, you stub it again.
Scrape your knee a little bit. That kind of sucks. It's gonna be a little awkward for the next day or two. Walk it or whatever.
It is funny too, because I think we get people on this show and elsewhere who comments on local media, and they're like, where are you getting this information? It's not even posted on the Arizona Republic yet. It's not even posted here. It's like, hey, we're saying this because we have credible sources. Also, we have someone we're listening to, the one that knows all, and Craig Morgan, he said it too. So hey, we trust that source, so we're gonna go ahead and report it too.
When has he been wrong? Just like pull
Yeah,
back
just
for 2
because-
seconds. When has he been wrong? When? Don't miss. But we're wrong for leaning on him when the dude don't miss. And like I'm not gonna say anything specific, but I've heard small tidbits from certain people in local media that's like, yeah, but it's not really like I can't like solidify that, so I can't report it essentially. And it's like fair because you do your job, because you do the journalistic standard of at least 2 independent sources, if not more, with some credible evidence. Wow. It's almost like we have real journalists in this market. Not some of the mainstream ones, all right? And I can't elaborate too much on that, but it's almost like we have a Craig Morgan type that can actually do his darn job.
I mean, I think I will go on the record, and I'm pretty sure so many people who are Coyotes fans, I'm sure you'll stand by me in saying this. I feel like in terms of when it comes to covering hockey, not just in Arizona, but in the entire like Southeast, maybe even the Western U.S., I think there's no one that works harder than Craig and as hard as Craig Morgan works.
I have to agree. And this is coming from someone that like I threw a lot of shade at that man from like 2018 to 2020 some odd, because I was the reactionary type. It's like, oh, you need to share my exact opinion and cover this the exact way I want you to cover it, or else you're bad. You're a shill.
I mean, and he was also representing national media and The Athletic, but that's a whole different thing at the time.
I'm just mad. It frustrates me because like we've already known this. We've been talking about some of this. All right, and it's like, oh well, it's not on TSN. No, of course it's not on TSN. No,
because they're not going to report it. They don't care about like the small things that might look good. They care about the big things that make the Coyotes look bad.
It's almost like if you want more context on a team, you should also look at local sources. And maybe, just maybe, if local and national are saying the same thing, that's probably true. But if just one is saying something, maybe, just maybe, the local guys know a little more about what's going on. Maybe, just maybe.
There is a reason, Matthew, and not just talking to you, Matthew, but talking to all these listeners out here. There's a reason why we at the Locked On Coyotes and the Locked On Podcast Network exist. It's so the local voices get a voice to get heard outside to everybody else.
But you're not TSN. You're not Sportsnet. You're not.
But we are the Locked On Podcast Network.
Oh my God, I never feel like I'm that mad in general until I just start ranting and thinking about it. And like, oh my God, I realize I hate so many people because you make my job just stress. Oh man, such and such national reporter said a thing. I pay attention to Craig's Twitter feed, or I ask a couple of people, hey, that was really going on. They're like, no. But it's like, hey, guess what? For the next 3 months, that's just canon. That's fact now. That thing that Joe Schmo said, national media, that must mean it's true for the next like 3 to 5 months until it's like thoroughly disproven. And then the next thing pops up, and then we're dealing with that. And then the next thing. And I'm like, we need to get some sponsors that help relax us, if you know what I mean. But maybe we're not the kind of network that gets those. But
I mean, we can maybe find a local spa who can just help us.
We need some local people, but I might get in trouble with the producer if I talk too much on this.
It's okay. We can get local guys. We can get local guys.
You can get this one local one, but like you got to pretend that it's not actually what you're advertising. Done. Okay.
Okay.
Pull back.
I think
Pull
we're
back.
done.
Back on topic. We got at least a couple of minutes that we're allowed that we can talk about this. This news that is the small tidbits are news, but the generic information is not. Where is your current level of optimism or your current expectations on this arena deal with this update from Xavier Gutierrez?
I wouldn't necessarily it's high, but it's risen. It's risen a decent amount from its last point. Since the election, it was low. Like the first 24 hours of the election, it was like needle was like going negative. Now it's just like, and then like a couple weeks later, kind of moved up a little bit. Now it's maybe back in that little mid range, right? Where it's just like, okay, I'm not like super happy, but you know what? They are saying the right things, and they're moving in the right direction. I'm still cynical. I'm still gonna be the person that say, hey, you know what? Like, I need physical proof. Like, sure, words mean a lot, but I need physical proof.
I do agree. I think I differ a little bit where I don't know, but just because I've really grown to respect Craig Morgan and get to know him a little better. But whenever he's saying something like, hey, this is good, this information I got about the current negotiations with the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian community didn't come from the Coyotes, and that's a good thing because it shows that things are actually happening. That meant a lot to me specifically. And a personal acquaintanceship kind of thing could cloud that, but that genuinely meant a lot to me. I'm going to not take it on because I am excited. I am just a naturally positive person, I suppose. Like I can get angry, but I guess I'm a little more optimistic than most. I'm going to change the scale from save us, from this to save us Matt Ishbia. All right, it's not how likely this gets done. It's save us Matt Ishbia. Up until the Craig Morgan coming back from vacation to report this, I don't even want to hear it. Just sell the Ishbia. I don't even care anymore. Just get this done. The report came out. I went right back to the middle because I'm like, okay, things are looking good. A little more confirmation, a little more details of specifically we're trying to narrow this down. We're confident in this. It's going up. I'm not going to let it go up too much yet, but it's no longer in the middle. It is going up, and it's giving me a little more confidence that, you know what? We might not wake up in January to deal fell through, we're going to Houston. We might not wake up to that. Now, the anxiety will always be there, and the closer we get there, my anxiety will kick up, just like with the election.
That just goes with the territory of being a Coyotes fan, Coyotes media, anything associated with the Coyotes.
Yes, I fully agree with that. 110%. My best and worst moments in life, I can track down to the Coyotes. I can trace back. But seriously, that's the scale I'm going to work with, is save us Matt Ishbia or force a sale or whatever. I am much more in they can regain my trust. They might be able to get this done. You might be able to delete Ishbia's number. It's kind of where the scale is going up right now. It still needs to progress. Things could happen. There's a little bit of fake wood right here. It's a little bookshelf. I'll go ahead and knock on it, okay? But I do not feel foolish and feeling more confident and feeling a little calmer because it's not big bad news, big silence. It's literally some good news, some more good news, a little more context on the good news. We're going up, all right? We bought the dip. The stonks are rising. I don't know when we're supposed to sell, but right now it's going up, and I'm just watching it.
I'll get ready to close with one thought, and it's it was said that like what you said earlier on this show, that January 1st is their soft deadline to have a plan in place and make sure it's also we have a motion set forward. I would, however, like some, even if it's just like minor, just like updates of converse, just like hey, we've narrowed it down to this, or we're in conversation, so X, Y, and Z, or whatever it might be, over like between now and then, at least a couple times between now and then, so we're not so left out of the dark. Because I think that's the problem. What I think left a lot of people uncomfortable for a while when it went to the Tempe deal before it was officially announced, is it went over a year until we found out anything, and that felt forever. I hated it so much, but I feel like you try to put Coyotes fans at ease just a little bit by giving us some minor updates. I don't care what the update is, just some kind of update.
I completely understand and agree with your feelings on that. I just want to add this to me, and I know Craig Morgan's work kind of did a lot of the physical labor here. It did a lot with knowing there's at least one specific and literally one-on-one corridor. Gutierrez basically confirmed right there. But
right,
I wanted an update on the arena. I wanted, hey, we are talking with multiple sites. We're doing this. I was given that. And yes, a lot of it is on the back of Craig Morgan, 100%. But officially, I was given that. Right now, that is enough for me. Now, in 2 months, sure. 3 months, sure. Reopen the conversation. But right now, all I wanted was that. I wanted that specific, we are committed here. He said it right there. We've already had the NHL, already had all the behind-the-scenes stuff. I just wanted it public. And I got that. I'm obviously going to hear a couple of things. You're obviously going to hear a couple of things before other people do. It kind of comes with the territory of being a little more plugged in. Right now, I'm good. Everything's going smooth. We're in the right direction. And they're actually showing, to an extent, that they're willing to do the work and recommit and stay committed to the privately funded aspect. All it's left to do is just enjoy free agency, enjoy training camp, and enjoy some gosh darn hockey.
Words couldn't be spoken any truer than that. I love that. Speaking of free agency, we're going to get to some free agency talk coming up later, at the end of this week and beginning of next week. Free agency, guess what?
Right around
This
the corner.
weekend. It's this weekend.
What is it? What is it? They call it Canada Day? Or was it already Canada Day and that they just lined it up with that? I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I want the
Canada
Coyotes to make that Walmart splash. I want that Kroger good value splash they're going to get. We're going to get a solid player. And I'm going to keep working on my Bill Armstrong. We're going to go out there. We're going to get a player. We're going to get good players. They're going to help us win. They're going to help us. They're going to play hard every night. We're going to win that championship. I'll work on it. I'll keep putting in the work.
We'll get there by training camp. By training camp, I think you'll get it.
August 17th. We'll see how poorly that ages. August 17th.
Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review. Like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media, on Twitter, at @LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us. Ask the question you might have. We might interact right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.